Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the Ohio Chapter American Academy of Pediatrics Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime Practice Management Training. Today, the title of our training is Social Media for Healthcare Professionals, How to Engage Patients and Families, and Dr. Nicole Baldwin will be speaking on this topic. Before we get started, I just want to thank the Ohio Department of Health for their support and assistance with the Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime program and these trainings. Just a few reminders before we get started. The Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime program has launched these trainings. We have 4 office staff support trainings and 4 practice management trainings. Our next one after this is February 8th at 2 p.m. and it's on Playing at Home Inside with Dr. Michelle Levitt. We will also have 2 webinars recorded on best practices for EMR use. We have launched a Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime toolkit with modules on how to implement PMP and nutrition activity advice into your practice. You can register using the link there on the screen, and you can also register for our PMP Journal Club for 20 MOC Part 2 and 20 CME points. And then the rest of our trainings, dates, and times are listed on the flyer there, and you can register if you haven't already for the next ones. One of our PMP resources that we have is the mobile app that can be downloaded from the Apple Store or Google Play. This app has the PMP handouts on it, trainings, a lot of resources that you can utilize and use with your family. So you can download this, and you can also encourage the families that you work with to download it. Those handouts can also be accessed on our Ohio AAP website, which is noted there on the screen. A few Zoom tips. Please keep all lines muted. You can ask questions and add comments by typing into the chat box. Dr. Baldwin has a built-in break for questions and then questions at the end as well. Please don't share your video. And if you have trouble hearing or seeing the presentation, please let us know in the chat box and we will get that fixed. There will also be a survey sent out at the end of the training to receive your CME and MOC credit, as well as a certificate for participation. Dr. Baldwin doesn't have any disclosures and no off-label products will be discussed. And I will go ahead and pass it over to her to get started with the presentation. Dr. Baldwin, you are muted. Can you hear me? You are, oh, okay.
There, I got it. I was like trying to figure out where to unmute it. All right, sorry about that, everyone. I'm so excited you guys are here with me this afternoon. And so I wanted to kind of go through an outline of what we're going to talk about. But first, I want to say thank you to the Ohio AAP for inviting me to talk about this. I'm super passionate about social media, and I hope I can give you guys some valuable tips today. So we are first going to talk today a little bit, just going to give you guys an introduction into who I am and why I'm passionate about this. I'm going to go a little into some social media statistics, just to kind of help you explore what social media might mean for you or why it's important. Talking about how to get started on social media if you're not on social media already, looking specifically at different platforms. So I'm not going to talk about every single platform, but we are going to talk about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube specifically. I'm going to share some general content tips with you, just how to create content on social media, how to actually just create a post if you're not sure how to do that. We're going to talk a little bit about hashtags. Depending on the platform you're on, hashtags can be pretty important. I'm going to go through some useful tools that I use and that others use on social media. Also talking about some video tips, how to edit and create videos, and then just some resources at the end for you guys to use. So who am I? I'm a general pediatrician at Northeast Cincinnati Pediatric Associates. I started using social media first in 2008, just personally. Just to give you a little perspective, Facebook launched in 2006 for the general public, and in 2004 originally for just college students. In 2012, our practice launched its professional Facebook account, and I actually ran that account until just the past year. So we've been doing that as a practice for quite some time as well. In 2012, I also just got on Instagram and Twitter just for personal accounts, not as a business account. 2014, I decided to branch out from Northeast Peds. So what I was finding was that I was sharing content for my whole practice, but I wanted to have a little bit more of an individual voice. And so in 2014, I started what I would consider my professional brand, which was Dr. Nicole Baldwin on Facebook. And then 2018, I moved into Instagram as well as started a blog at that time. And then in January of 2020, not knowing what 2020 would bring, I launched into TikTok as well. So why do I even care about social media, and why do I think that you guys should care? So these are statistics. This is for the year from 2019 to 2020. And this particular group found an increase in social media usage by 12.3%. This is worldwide usage. So over 453 million new users in the year from October 2019 to October 2020. And this was the first year that they had over 50% of people in the world using social media. And what that equated to, that growth, there were 14 new users per second over 12 months, with an average increase of over 2 million users per day. So social media is out there and it's not going anywhere for sure. This graph looks at people in the US and the growth in social media since 2005. This is from the Pew Research Center. And I added in here just so you guys can get an idea of when different platforms actually launched. So again, I said Facebook launched in 04 just for college kids, and then in 06 for the general public. YouTube launched in 05, Twitter earlier in 2006, Instagram launched kind of later in 2010, and then TikTok launched in 2016. So you see that growth, and over 70% of US adults use at least one social media website. And it's not that they're just using it, they're on it a lot. So this is users from the age of 16 to 64, and they're using social media. You can see there that second orange circle over 2 hours a day, people are on social media. So it's definitely something that we as a medical profession, I think it's important we're in that space as well. And then looking at age groups, and this, keep in mind, these age groups, this is just Facebook, Instagram, or Facebook Messenger. And so not even including some of the other platforms, YouTube, Twitter, things like that. But when we look at our patient population as pediatricians, as well as our young parents, 18 to 34-year-olds, you've got 86 to 90% of people are using social media, at least Facebook or Instagram. And then that number from 13 to 17, 31% of them, I would venture to guess it's maybe higher than that, but just talking to my adolescents in the office, but it's definitely a place where our patients are and our parents are. So we have a poll question, because I just want to get a sense for you guys. I think Alex is going to pop up the poll question of what social media platforms you guys, or how many of you are using social media. And if you use it from a personal, a professional, or a practice, and you should be able to select more than one of them. So I just want to get an idea of how you guys are using social media. This is fun. I can answer it myself too. So do we have, I can't see. Do we have results of that, Alex?
Yes, here we go.
All right, so lots of people personal, 95%. I'm glad to see about 50% of you are using it in a professional capacity. And so hopefully we can bump that number up after this, and about a quarter of you practice or organization. So awesome. So, what do I find are benefits of social media? Just being on social media. So, not just obviously educating, right? We're there, we're educating our families, educating the general public, but it's also a great way to learn. Since I've been on social media, I have learned so much, not just from other physicians on social media, but also from the questions families are asking me and having to go and research some of those things that I never would have thought about. So I've learned so much on social media. It's a great way to connect, not just connecting with our patients, which obviously patients and families, I'm able to connect with them a lot on social media, but also with other professionals. I've made so many great connections with other physicians, other nurses, and people outside of the healthcare field on social media. It's a great free marketing tool. So if you have a practice, if you are in a private practice and you do not have social media, it's free dollars. It's free. You're wasting that free marketing. So our families are looking on social media to find us, and it's a great way to market your business. Obviously raising awareness, not just about, I'm pretty big into raising awareness about vaccines, but raising awareness about other causes like with COVID and public health measures, like gun violence, like safe sleep, all of these things that as pediatricians, they're so important to us. Social media is a great way to help us raise awareness. Combating misinformation is huge right now. So there's so much misinformation out there on social media. I think we all know that. And sometimes I think it makes people afraid to get on there because there's so much misinformation. But if we do not get out there and share actual evidence-based information, then that misinformation can take over. We're leaving a void that is being filled by everyone that's spreading that. So I think it's important that as medical professionals, we're out there putting evidence-based information in the space. And social media helps you keep up with news, helps you keep up with trends, things that your adolescent patients are seeing. Those YouTube trends of like the cinnamon challenge and the silly challenges that they do. It's important, and you can find that on social media, so you can talk to your patients about it in the office. So I think being on that is important as well. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of how to get started if you're not on social media. And I really like this photo because it's kind of chaotic. And that's how it feels a lot of times when you're trying to start on social media, because there are so many different platforms and ways that you can share content, and it can get very overwhelming. So I'm going to try to break it down for you in a easier to digest way so that it's not so scary, I guess, sometimes to be on social media. So I like to think of it when you're first approaching social media, thinking about how a reporter would think about writing a story. So we're going to look at the who, what, when, where, why, and how of being on social media. And the first thing I always like to talk about is finding your why. Why is being on social media important to you? And that's going to be different for everyone. It's going to be different for each practice, each hospital, anything. It's going to be unique to you. So I wanted to share with you guys what my why is to maybe give you kind of an example. So one of the main reasons that I got on social media was I wanted to reach more people than I was reaching in the four walls of my exam room with evidence-based information. I'm sure we've all experienced this. You find yourself saying the same things over and over again, parents asking the same questions. And so I wanted to be able to share that information with people where they were sitting on their couch, flipping through their phone when they weren't in my office. I'm a pretty optimistic person, and the social media space can be kind of negative sometimes. And so I really wanted to just bring joy and bring some laughter and light to the space as well. Being an advocate, obviously, as a pediatrician, I think we're all advocates for our patients and for kids and health and wellness. And so that was one of the important things I wanted to do on social media. And then over the past year, after having some run-ins with some anti-vaccine folks on social media, I really added to my why of wanting to encourage other medical professionals to kind of join that battle against misinformation with me. And so that's been a big part of my why over the past year. So remember, your why is going to be unique to you or to your business, and your why may change over time, as mine did, and over your platform. You may use one platform for one thing and one platform for another, and that's okay as well. The next thing, when you think of, after you get your why, is who are you trying to reach? Okay. Are you trying to reach patients? And that's going to help determine where you're going to be on social media. And when you think about patients, are you trying to reach your current patients or potential patients? And your messaging is going to be different based on that. And thinking about specific age groups. Now, we know that the social media platforms do not allow kids under the age of 13 to be on them. And again, we all know that doesn't mean they aren't. But looking at a lot of the platforms, you're going to be gearing more towards adolescents, if anything. But young kids are on YouTube. We all know they're on YouTube. So if you really have a passion for reaching those younger kids, YouTube might be a good place to start with that. I think parents is one of our main demographics that most of us are trying to reach. Certainly for me, parents are one of my top priorities. Do you want to engage with other medical professionals, med students, residents, fellows, colleagues? Social media can be a great way to engage with others, to collaborate, to encourage those medical students as they're trying to apply for residencies and all this stuff. There's so much that you can do on social media. Are you trying to reach anyone who will listen? I think in the beginning, I don't recommend kind of this broad view or scope, because it's better to kind of hone in your messaging to get to the right people. Then I want you to think about, how do you want to share your message? Because how you want to share your message also will determine what platform you might be on. So are you more comfortable with just text? You just want to write text. And this is a tweet. Twitter lends itself very well to text specifically. Facebook in some regard does too. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Do you like photos? This is a photo from my Instagram page. So Instagram is very photo heavy. Obviously you have to have a photo when you share on Instagram, or an infographic when you share on Instagram. So thinking, are you comfortable with photos? Do you like that aspect? Do you like infographics? So Instagram, Facebook, those are great ways to share infographics. You can obviously share them on Twitter and things like that too, but looking at the specific platforms that kind of suit themselves to those, Facebook and Instagram do that very well. Do you like video? Some people are not very comfortable with video, others are. And if you want to do video, do you like short form content? Do you like longer form content? So short form content, TikTok, obviously we think a lot about that, Instagram Reels. If we're looking at longer form video content, YouTube is what we think about a lot, but also IGTV on Instagram. Facebook allows for videos as well. I did want to show you, so this TikTok in the middle, this is from a pediatrician. She's a pediatric gastroenterologist, Rebecca Winderman in New York. And she does a great job educating on TikTok, because I think a lot of people are scared of TikTok. You don't think of it as like, it seems like, oh, this is just a goofy adolescent app, and how do you educate on there? But you can. And so I'm going to play this quick little TikTok for you guys. Hopefully it works here, so you can see how she educates. Baby, happy in my ride. Who's hot as hell outside? Put the top down with your clothes closed, hand up on your back. Just take it. So she's doing a fun dance to a popular song, but putting those messages out there about what is gastritis, something very basic. And you do not have to dance to be on TikTok either. I know a lot of people on TikTok that will talk or share information. So don't totally discount that either, because that's a great way to reach our adolescent population. Oh, hold on. Don't want to play that again. So the other thing too is to experiment in the beginning. I think the nice thing about being newer on social media and having a smaller page is that you can experiment. You can try photos, you can try infographics, you can try video, and you can see what works best for you and what works best for your followers. So then looking at where do you want to share? So your platform you're going to choose really depends on your who and your how. And we're going to get into specific platforms, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about who tends to be on which platform and what content is better on different platforms as well. Another way to figure out where to share is find out where your patients are. So I don't recommend trying to drag your patients to another platform just because you want to be there. You should meet your patients where they're at. So ask your patients, survey them, find out what platforms are they using so that you can meet them there where they already are. I really would advise, if you're not on social media professionally at all, or you don't use social media very much, to just start with 1 or 2 platforms in the beginning, because it takes some time to get used to how to share the content and what's the best content and to engage with your audience and all that kind of stuff. And so it can get overwhelming if you try to jump into multiple platforms all at once. So starting with 1 to 2 and getting really good at that and kind of honing that, and then potentially moving to another platform if that fits your messaging, that's fine, but I wouldn't jump into multiple platforms all at once. That being said, you can definitely save time by sharing the same content on multiple platforms. And we'll talk a little bit about that, especially with Facebook and Instagram together, because they are linked. But you can take the same message and you might have to tweak it down for Twitter or for TikTok or something like that, but you can take that same general message and share it in multiple places, which is helpful. So this looks at just what are the world's most used social platforms? Where are people in general in the world? Facebook, obviously top, that's where they're mostly at, followed by YouTube, Instagram down there just a little bit farther, with TikTok closing in, and I'm sure these numbers are probably going to be different in 2021. And then Twitter is down towards the bottom, and I'll talk more about Twitter. I wouldn't discount that totally, just especially as a medical professional. Twitter is a really great way to kind of engage with medical professionals. So that was worldwide. This is US specific. Similar statistics, a little bit higher for YouTube than Facebook. Facebook is that darker blue bar. About 73% of US adults are on Facebook, and about that, a little higher for YouTube. And you can see down a little bit lower, Instagram is that next kind of lighter green bar there. So that didn't include TikTok, and it didn't include adolescents. So I found this great statistics about where are our adolescents, because I think they're a great group for us to reach that we don't often think about. So adolescents, 84% of them, so these are kids, average age was 15. This was in 2020. 84% of them were on Instagram, and almost 70% were on TikTok. And that, who knows, in a day that's probably gone up. Lots of kids are on TikTok. You can see Facebook much lower for them. I'm surprised actually that Twitter is higher than Facebook, but it is. So if you're wanting to reach your adolescents, Instagram or TikTok is the place really to do it. Snapchat is not a great way for us as healthcare professionals to reach adolescents, I don't think. So, and this I found from a social media company that broke down social media based on industries. And so breaking out healthcare, where are they recommending that we and healthcare, what are good platforms for us. So the three that they highlighted, Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. I thought Pinterest was an interesting one. I use Pinterest personally. I don't know professionally, unless you have a blog, which I think that's a great way to use Pinterest. And certainly there's a lot of moms on Pinterest, but that is a little, I'm not so sure how that would work as easily. And then depending on your content strategy, Instagram and YouTube are good as well. And I like how this broke out. Best place for teens. Again, we're saying Instagram, and they have Snapchat, but I got a big old X on the Snapchat there. And then millennials, which are our young parents, are on Facebook and Instagram. So if that's who you're wanting to reach, those are the platforms you want to kind of look at. So then what should you share? And that's a big question for a lot of people, I think. So I always think it's important to talk about what you know. What are you talking about in the office all day long? What are you seeing? And you are an expert. So I think in medicine, we all have imposter syndrome. We all think there's somebody who knows more or is smarter than us out there. But keep in mind that you are, you're an expert in your field. You're an expert in your experience. You are, parents want to hear from you. So don't let your imposter syndrome keep you from posting on there. I also think it's important that you break down your content. So some people can get very sciencey in what they're sharing. And if you're gearing it towards a medical audience, that's great. But think about it more as, how are you going to talk to parents in your office? How are you trying to break down that information and translate that onto your platform? Because that will make it spread wider and be easier to understand. You can say the same thing over and over again. So there's a lot of stuff that we call evergreen content that can be shared year after year or month after month, bike helmet safety, sunscreen safety, drowning prevention, all of these things. You work on that content once and you can share it over and over again. Maybe you put a fresh photo on it. Maybe you put it on a different platform, but you don't have to create new content every single day. There's a lot of things that we say, or maybe you're going to say it in a different way. So don't panic about, gosh, I'm not going to have enough information. I don't know what to say. You can say the same thing over and over again. Certainly, as healthcare professionals, I think evidence is at the top of importance, because number one, people will call you on it. They'll ask you for evidence. And number two, if you're, we are looked at a little differently in the medical profession. Our word is valued differently. And so I think that sharing anecdote isn't completely off the table. If you want to share a story or share your own personal experience, that's okay, but you need to make sure you're saying that that's what it is, that you're not saying that my experience is absolutely what is evidence-based. So just be cautious about that. Be authentic. I think people can see through when people are trying to be fake, especially teenagers. And we'll talk about that when we talk about TikTok more later. But I think authenticity is really important for our patients. As always, maintaining professionalism and HIPAA compliance. Anything you put out there can be shared to anywhere. People take screenshots. So even if you delete it quickly, it can be screenshotted and people can share it to your medical board, to your boss, to your future employer. So just be sure you're maintaining professionalism. And if you're looking for ideas for what to share, ask your patients, ask your community online. They will give you information. They will give you ideas. Oh, I'm sorry, my dogs are barking. They will give you ideas for what to share. So when to share information, it really depends on your platform, your audience, and more importantly, for me, I think it depends on your schedule. I'm not a social media marketer. Obviously, social media marketers would say, no, you follow the insights, you follow the algorithm, but we are medical professionals. Social media is my side gig. I don't do this. I don't get paid to do this. My main job is to see patients. So doing something on your schedule is important as well. I wanted to show you, this is from my Instagram. It's a video to just show you how you find out what your insights are. So, and when is a good time to post. So looking at followers here, you can see what your breakdown is, where people are located, what the age ranges of people that are on your page, what the gender is, and when are they most active. So you can choose to post when they're most active. And why does that matter? Because when you first put a post out there, that initial engagement, that initial people liking, people commenting, people sharing, that helps bump up that post in the algorithm. And so more people see it. So in theory, that's why you should try, if you can, to post during those times when your followers are on. That being said, it doesn't always work that way. Oh, goodness. Okay. And then you can see platforms are different. So this is my analytics from TikTok, and what you'll see, the times are different. So on my Instagram, most people were on from like 12 to 6. That was the highest time. TikTok, it's like 9 p.m. And that makes sense because it's a lot of younger kids that are on later. So your platform is going to depend on when, people might be online at different times. In the beginning, experiment with when you post. Take a similar content and post it at different times, post it on different days, see what gets more engagement, and then you can kind of go with that. But like I said, in the end, I think it's your schedule that takes priority. And I will talk a little bit later about scheduling apps specifically. So Hootsuite, Buffer, later, Preview, and then Facebook has and Instagram have a creator studio where you can schedule content. So that way it can be posted at times when your audience is on, but it doesn't mean you're having to be at a computer or on your smartphone right at that moment. So this is just generic. This is from Sprout Social, which is kind of a social media marketing company that looked at, in general, when are people engaged on different platforms? And specifically, they broke it out and looked at healthcare engagement. When are people engaging with healthcare content? So what they found was that on Facebook, Wednesdays are the best day from around 10 to noon, Instagram, Tuesdays around 8 a.m., and Twitter, Wednesdays from 8 to 2. Now, does this mean that you only post then or you have to post then? No. But if you're just getting started on these platforms, kind of knowing like this is when these tend to have higher engagement, you can start there and then play and experiment with it. So before we dive into specific platforms, we have another polling question for you guys because I want to know, and you can select multiple on this one too, what platforms do you guys already use? And this can be from a professional, from a personal. I just want to know what you guys are on. Are we good? Do we have them, Alex?
I think a few more people are answering and then I'll end it.
Okay, so y'all are pretty familiar with Facebook, which is good. So 91%. Fewer on Instagram, a little Twitter. I like 23% on TikTok. Very good. YouTube and some other stuff. And awesome. So we're gonna dive in here a little bit to some a little more specifics about the different platforms. Just to give you an idea so you can kind of think in your head, if you want to use this professionally, is this the right place for you? So we'll start with Facebook. Again, we talked about this is the largest social network worldwide, and there's over 2.7 billion monthly active users on Facebook. almost 70% of Americans are using Facebook. About 25 to 34 in the age range is the largest group that are on there. When you look at, I tend to look at like the demographic that we're seeing, those 18 to 49-year-olds, thinking of our young parents in our late adolescence. So 77 to 86% of people of those ages are on Facebook. About 54% female versus 46% male. And the other thing to note is that 96% of people are accessing Facebook on their mobile phones. And that matters when you're posting. And we'll talk a little bit later about posting content. It looks different on your mobile phone versus on your desktop. And so when you're thinking about how am I going to do this post, just knowing that most people are using it from a mobile standpoint. Facebook lends itself to short form and long form text. It's interesting, Sprout Social, when I looked at kind of like what they're saying are ideal amount of characters to use in a Facebook post, they were saying 40 to 80 characters, which to me seems like that's like shorter than a tweet. But I would say most people that I see tend to use a little bit longer form text on Facebook posts. The maximum is 63,206 characters. I would not try to get to the maximum. People, I don't think tend to read total books or papers on that, but you can if you want to. Posts with photos and videos tend to do better. They tend to get better engagement. So even if you just have a message that you want to write as text, if you can find a photo that goes along with that, that will likely get you better engagement on your Facebook post. The thing I really like about Facebook is it's very easy to share links from websites and other Facebook users. This is something that not all the platforms, it's not as easy to do that. So Instagram is terrible when it comes to this. Twitter, you can absolutely share links there too. But what's really awesome about Facebook too is if you're sharing somebody else's content on Facebook, you're helping to basically engage with that page too. And you may find then that page might follow you and they might share your content. And that's how other people will find you too. So engaging that way can be super helpful. The Creator Studio. So this is kind of a fairly newish piece of Facebook and Instagram, and it is nice. It gives you different tools. There are some videos on there about how to create content and allows you to schedule posts and, you know, kind of see your posts before they go out. It's nice. I recently started using it more and I actually really like it. So I'm going to give you guys with each platform some people I think are great to follow if you're wanting to be on that platform, because I think any platform that you're on, following people who are doing what you want to do and they're doing it well, that can help you get ideas and kind of figure out how you can fit into your niche there too. So Kids Plus Pediatrics is a pediatric group in Pittsburgh, and they actually have a social media, a communications coordinator that runs their page, but they do a great job with education and reaching their patients on Facebook. Pediatric Partners in Overland Park, Kansas. Kristen Stuppy is the pediatrician that runs that page. And again, great content. They share a lot of good information that's helpful that can be shared. Dr. Kim's kids. Dr. Kim is a solo practitioner and her daughter is a graphic designer. And so she does a lot of great infographics, both on Instagram and on Facebook. And so she's a great one to follow, and you can share her content or just kind of get ideas from what she shares. And then if anybody is on Facebook, whether you're doing it personally or professionally, We Are Pediatricians is another great page. And that is also run by Kristen Stuppy, who does the Pediatric Partners. But that shares a lot of articles and blogs that are really good to share with parents. And so sometimes it can be hard to find content. It's not just like you're Googling stuff all the time. So this is a good resource to look and say, gosh, what's out there? What do I need to share? Is there a good like COVID post for a parent? She shares a lot of stuff like that. So it's a really good page to follow. Moving on to Instagram. Instagram has more than 1 billion users and 500 million monthly active users. And photos that are on Instagram get about a quarter more engagement on average than Facebook photos. About 67% of people 18 to 29 are on Instagram, whereas only a little less than half from 30 to 49. So if you're thinking of who you want to reach, it's that younger generation of parents or those adolescents that are on Instagram a lot. Almost balanced, 51% female, 49% male on Instagram. And Instagram is photo driven. You have to have some sort of photo or infographic or something to create a post. You cannot just create text on Instagram. And aesthetics matter, whether we like it or not. It annoyed me a lot in the beginning that it mattered what my photo looked like, but it does, unfortunately, because a lot of people are just unfortunately seeing the photo and maybe not always looking at the content. Text wise, ideally, they're saying 138 to 150 characters. And again, I think it depends on your strategy or how you want to be on social media. I tend to do longer content. And so that's what people are used to. The maximum is 2,200 characters, which that is sometimes a little hard when you're trying to share a lot of information, but it can absolutely be done. Instagram also has been pushing their video a lot more. So the one thing I didn't say about Facebook, Facebook also has capability to share videos there. And the thing about Facebook is you can share YouTube videos there. So if you have a YouTube channel that you want to share to your Facebook, or you can just do Facebook Live videos or upload videos to Facebook. Instagram launched this Reels, which is similar to TikTok, only goes up to 30 seconds though. And they tend to be pushing that a lot up in their algorithms. So like Reels tend to get more viewing just because that's what they're pushing right now. But a Reel can be shared on your Instagram grid as well as in Instagram Reels. And so thinking about how I showed you that TikTok video with the words and the education, it's very similar to that. Instagram also has video that can be shared IGTV, which can be between 60 seconds and 60 minutes of video that can be shared. So you can upload video to your IGTV channel, and you can have a preview of that video on your grid as well. So when you are on Instagram, you want to create a business account. And so Hootsuite has a great kind of how to use Instagram for business that kind of goes through some more detail than what I'll go through today. And the other thing to know is that Facebook owns Instagram now. So those platforms are now linked together and you can post simultaneously on both platforms, which is super nice. And you can do that through either posting on Instagram, and then it will automatically, you can link it to your Facebook to go to your Facebook, or you can use the Creator Studio, and using the Creator Studio can kind of schedule to both as well. So that's really nice. So some great Instagrammers to follow. Casey Kidstock, this is Natasha Berger. She actually trained in Cincinnati at Cincinnati Children's with me. And she does a great job educating her families on Instagram. Advice I give my friends is Kelly Fradden. She's also a pediatrician in New York, and she does great. She does a lot of reels and does a lot of infographics for her families. And then Peds Doc Talk is Mona Amin. She's a pediatrician in Florida, and she has a podcast. So she also does great on her podcast. But what's cool about her page, she had a son about a year ago, and she does a lot of education with development and feeding and all of this stuff by taking videos of her son and sharing that. So I think, sharing some of your personal information, if you're comfortable with that, family stuff in order to educate your patients can be very useful and get a lot of following and stuff like that on social media if you're interested in that. Twitter, moving on to Twitter. I know some of you guys use Twitter. So 130 million monthly active users, definitely lower in terms of the amount of them. So 38% of people age 18 to 29 and 26% of people 30 to 49 are using Twitter, half and half, male and female. So only 22% of people in the US use Twitter. But what's cool about Twitter is 80% of the users are from countries outside the US. So if you're wanting to reach a more global scale, a broader audience, then Twitter's a great place to do that. Not to say that the users aren't on other platforms from other countries too. 80% of Twitter users are affluent millennials. And I find that Twitter is a great way to connect and network with other healthcare professionals. That's where I have found a great community of other physicians, and I've watched medical students just do amazing things and share their research. And also news media will oftentimes reach out to people on Twitter and find what you're doing on Twitter. So that's a good way to reach out with other people and connect on that. So if you don't know, a post on Twitter is called a tweet. And so nobody says I made a post on Twitter. They said I tweeted something. It is a hard and fast 280 character limit. But one way to get around this is with a thread. And I'm going to show you an example of a thread on Twitter. Ideally, a tweet is around 70 to 100 characters. So this is an example of a thread that I did the other day. It was the 1-year anniversary of the anti-vaccine attack that I went through. And so you can see that little emoji with the thread kind of alerts people that this is a thread, because they're just going to see that first post. And then the following thread, so these other tweets came below that. And one thing I want to show you guys in all of this is the different things you can share on Twitter. So that first tweet, there's a video on there. Obviously, it's not going to play on here, but people can play that on Twitter. You can also retweet other people. And that second tweet, you can see I retweeted my original tweet in the beginning, so you can retweet yourself if you want to. That third tweet in the thread is pictures, so you can put photos. I will say Twitter crops photos a little bit weird sometimes, and there's not a ton of control over how they're cropping them, so that's weird. But you can also tag people. Tagging people helps get your tweet seen more. So that top one there, you can see I tagged a lot of people that I wanted to make sure that saw the tweet. A lot of people use GIFs or GIFs, however you say it, I'm not sure. But there is that I use there. Hashtags are very big, and we're going to talk about hashtags later, about how to use hashtags, but you can see throughout a lot of these tweets, I'm using hashtags to kind of get that content to the right conversation, essentially. And then this was the final tweet in that thread. And you can see at the bottom of that where it says add another tweet. How you make a thread is when you're posting a tweet, you can either post it and then add after you've already tweeted it, or there's like a plus sign when you're on either your mobile device or on your desktop, and you can just add, you can do a whole thread before you actually tweet it out. And that's usually what I do. Hashtags, like I said, are key, especially on Twitter, to get your content kind of seen. There is a hashtag Tweetiatrician, if you guys aren't aware. The American Academy of Pediatrics nationally uses this hashtag Tweetiatrician a lot, and you can contact them, and they send out a monthly email about what are different things you can tweet about that month, what are different, maybe it's like January Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, or, what are we tweeting about on, about COVID or whatever. So it gives you ideas of things to tweet about. The video on Twitter can only be 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but you can share video, and those tweets tend to do decently. Photos and GIFs, we talked about that. the annoying thing about Twitter for all of us is there is no editing feature. So when you send out a tweet, be sure you check and recheck your spelling, your grammar, and make sure you've said what you want to say, because the only way to change it is to delete your tweet or live with it, because there's not a way to edit a tweet once it's been sent out. So some great people to follow on Twitter. Dave Stukas is a pediatrician at Nationwide Children's in Columbus, and he is phenomenal on Twitter. I would definitely recommend following him. Sarah Mojerod is a social media consultant, and she does a lot of education about how to communicate science on not just on Twitter, but on social media in general. So I think if you're on Twitter, follow Sarah. She's awesome. And then Jamie Friedman is a pediatrician in California, and she does a lot of tweeting and education and stuff like that, and advocacy on Twitter. So if you're on there, those are great accounts to follow. So TikTok, TikTok is geared for short form video content. 15 to 60 seconds. It can be shorter than 15 seconds, but typically most are 15 to 60 seconds. It's estimated there's about 800 million monthly users, and 41% of them are between the ages of 16 and 24. It has been the most downloaded app on Apple, with over 2 billion downloads in the past couple years. And users spend a lot of time on this. So 52 minutes a day may not seem like a lot, but if you think about each video is 15 to 60 seconds and they're spending 52 minutes per day at least, think of the amount of content that they are seeing. And 90% of people are on this multiple times a day. So posting multiple TikToks throughout the day at different times can help get things seen. So on TikTok, you can create videos either within the app on your phone, or you can upload them, although it's a lot easier to do it in the app, I think. Uploading it can get a little bit weird and wonky. The sounds are generally from the app. So the app has like so many sounds that you can just choose from there. You can add text and effects to your videos. So again, I showed you Rebecca's video earlier with a lot of text. Hashtags, you can use hashtags in your video where your post is. I'm going to show you that in just a second. If you're on TikTok and you see FYP or hashtag FYP, that stands for You page. On TikTok, when you're viewing videos, you can view it two different basically buckets: your people that you're following, or your For You page. And a lot of adolescents, I think, live on the For You page. And For You page is content that's generated for you from TikTok based on what you've looked at before. So that's their algorithm deciding for you what you should see. And so you'll see people put hashtag FYP to try to get their content on the For You page, because that's how your videos get more views and you can get more followers that way on the For You page. TikTok especially is important to be real and authentic, because teenagers will see through the BS like that. So the more real and authentic you can be, the better. The cool thing about TikTok, you can duet others, and that helps to kind of, if you're duetting someone that is has a bigger account than you, and then maybe they follow you, that can get more people to see your content too. You can also respond to comments with video on TikTok, which is cool. So if somebody asks you a question in one of your videos and you think it's a good way to educate someone else, you can make a video responding to that comment. And so then other people will see that answer too, versus just responding in the comments of that particular video. For TikTok, if you want stuff to get seen, it's important to kind of follow trends, and whether it's a trending song, a trending dance, if you're okay with dancing, just a trending hashtag, that will help get your videos on that For You page and get more people seeing it. So I'm going to show you an example of a video that I did duetting somebody else. This video is by far the biggest video I've had on TikTok since I've been on there. Had like over 2 million views. And you'll see why. It's not because of anything I did. It's because of the super cute kid that I duetted. And so then the more people like the video, the more it gets seen. You'll see down at the bottom there where I'm talking about using the hashtags in terms of getting your video seen, because people can search hashtags in TikTok. So we're going to play this for just a second. It's about a minute long.
They need to work on that, right?
So yes, okay. This is a little kid. He's totally adorable.
Did you understand it though?
And
no. Okay.
He's just jargoning, using his jargon with his dad.
Oh, not this one. This is now.
And so I use this just to educate about what is jargon, you know, why do babies do this, when do they do this, that kind of stuff.
Exactly what I was thinking. Oh yeah. Right, don't bring that again. You know what I'm saying? Don't do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's like that. Yeah. Like go somewhere else with that, but don't bring it here. You know what I'm saying?
So you can see it's not because of anything I did that got 2 million views, is because that little kid was so cute. But it's just a way to educate about speech development. And so that was a fun way to do that. I'm gonna try to not have this play again. Here we go. What's happening? Oh, here we go. Okay, so accounts to follow on TikTok. Kids Gastro Doc, that's Rebecca Winderman. That's who I showed you that video of before. Epidemiologist Kat is phenomenal when it comes to explaining the epidemiology, a lot of COVID statistics, stuff like that. Dr. Knock is also, he's a scientist who has just been phenomenal at how he explains things about COVID. So if you are on TikTok or you want to see how other people are educating, those are some great people to follow. There's a lot more amazing physicians on TikTok too. So YouTube, over 1 billion hours of video are watched per day on YouTube. I will admit I'm not on YouTube professionally really, so I can't give you personal experience on this in terms of creating content, but it's definitely a place where a lot of your patients and families are going to be. 1.3 billion people are using YouTube regularly, especially those younger ages. So 81% of people 15 to 25, 71% of people 26 to 35, and 67% of people 36 to 45. Most people are viewing this on their mobile device, and clearly it's video. Like, you know, you're not doing text on YouTube. So for YouTube, if your account is not verified, it's only 15 minutes of video that you can upload. But if your account is verified, and this is not verified in the way that you get Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that verified, it's easier to do that. But if your account is verified, you can upload up to 12 hours of video on there. Important thing about YouTube is a strong title and a thumbnail for your video. And I'll show you some examples of that here in just a second. You really only have a few seconds to grab someone's attention on YouTube. So if you are creating a video, you want to kind of out of the gate, hit them with whatever your content is going to be, whatever important kind of like thing you can do to grab their attention, and then move into the deeper dive of whatever you're talking about. YouTube does have a creator academy, which has a lot of great videos on how to create videos, how to edit your videos, what are some tips and tricks and things like that. So it's a good place if you want to try YouTube to get on there. And then Hootsuite has a good article or blog about YouTube marketing and how to get your videos seen. So these are a couple people to follow. ZDog MD, if you're not aware of who he is, Zubin Damania, he's a internal medicine physician in California. And this is what I'm talking about with the thumbnails and the titles. So his thumbnails there, you can see they're kind of goofy, but those are the ones that most people are putting out there that people are seeing. And you can see it's this kind of photo that may or may not have even been from the video with this bold text on there. So that's what people are seeing when they're choosing where, what to click on next. Mama Dr. Jones is great to follow. She's an OB-GYN. And again, you can see looking at her thumbnails and her thumbnails there that kind of draw people in. Like, if you look at that safe question mark with the vaccine, you know, she's trying to draw people in. She's certainly going to talk about that COVID vaccine is safe in pregnancy and breastfeeding, but that the way that graphic looks, it's drawing people's interest in because they're like, oh, is it? You know, so drawing people in is great. Mike Varshavsky is a family medicine doctor in New York, Dr. Mike. He has 6 million YouTube followers. People like him a lot. And again, that goofy photo, those thumbnails get seen. So other platforms I'm not going to talk about, but if you're interested in those, it's certainly, you know, you can hop in those spaces too. Pinterest, Reddit. Again, I don't know that Snapchat is totally the right thing for us, but you know, maybe I'm wrong. LinkedIn, blogs, podcasting. So that's beyond our scope today, but you know, certainly if that's something that appeals to you, go for it, because I think there's space in all of these for us. So we're kind of in the middle. So I want to take a break for some questions and see what you guys have. And then we'll dive into how to create content a little bit more.
So y'all can ask any questions that you may have in the chat box, and Dr. Baldwin will answer it before we go on to the rest of the content.
Do we have any?
We don't have anything right now.
Okay. All right, we'll keep moving then. Awesome. Yep. So what are some first steps in terms of how you can get on social media? So first thing you need to do is create a profile on whatever platform you choose. When you choose your username, it should be something that fits with your brand, fits with your business, your practice, something that's easy for people to remember, and try to make it the same across platforms. So these are just my platforms. You can see Dr. Nicole Baldwin is kind of what my quote unquote brand is. You can also see on Twitter, when I got on that as a personal account way back in the day, I did not use Dr. Nicole Baldwin. And so that one's different, and it annoys me, but my platform is big enough that I don't want to restart it. But really trying to keep everything succinct across different platforms is good. You want to choose a business page or a public page typically when you're on social media so that people can find you and follow you. You want to make sure you complete your info and your bio section, and that is going to be tweaked likely based on what platform you're on. And you can use hashtags in your bio. You'll see my Instagram and my Twitter both have hashtags, and that allows people to find your profile. If they're searching for that hashtag, they can find your profile with that hashtag in there. Make sure you check your privacy settings, and everyone has different privacy settings, but like Facebook, there's a whole page of privacy settings. You can determine who can post on your page. Do you want reviews on your page? Which I would suggest you do not have reviews on your page. Just simply, if you're ever going to post about vaccines, do not have reviews on your page, because the anti-vaxxers will come at you and trash those. But just be sure you go through all those privacy settings to know, make sure, and you can actually on Facebook block certain words from being posted in comments, which I do. There are certain curse words and other things that if someone types those, it automatically hides that comment. It doesn't allow it to be seen. With your profile picture, I think it's a good idea to try to remain consistent across platforms. You can see, other than TikTok, my profile picture is exactly the same on all of my sites. And you, the reason I like to do this too is that as your site gets bigger, sometimes people will create mock pages and stuff like that. And so this just kind of helps people to know that it actually is me, I think, because it's the same profile picture. Not to say that they couldn't steal my profile picture, they certainly could, but they don't usually do that. I think when you're on social media, it's important to think like a social media marketer. And I follow this socialmediatoday.com. They send out emails every few days, and it talks about what are the platforms, what are some new things the platforms are doing, what are some ways that you can engage, what are some algorithm ideas and things like that. So it's just kind of something good to follow. But again, like I said, you can take some of it with a grain of salt if you want to. So what are some content ideas that you can post? First of all, if you're doing it as a practice, what is some general practice information about you? It's a great way to introduce your staff, introduce new providers on your page. General seasonal guidance, we talked about this before, like flu, sunscreen, injury prevention. Those are great things to post about. What are some hot medical topics? I mean, we've been posting about COVID-19 now, obviously for the past year, and that seems like it's not getting old yet, but what are some hot things that are in the news that you can post about as well? People like behind the scenes things, especially if it's a practice, they like to feel like, ooh, I've got an insider's view of maybe some photos or videos. The one thing I'll say about that is you want to be careful that you don't have any patients in those videos because obviously for HIPAA reasons. If you are going to share photos of your patients, and some of them are absolutely okay with that, you've got to get permission. So we do at Northeast Peds, and me personally occasionally will share photos with my patients, but always I get permission to do that before I do. You can share real-time updates. I think this is a great way to communicate. If you're having phone line issues, if you're having construction delays, anything like that is a great way to share that on social media. I found this on one of the social media sites. I thought was great. It's what they call the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your content should be about providing information to your patients. And then 20% can be about the practice or about you. So it kind of balances that out a little bit, because I think that patients do like to know a little bit about the practice or a little bit about you as well. So how can you find content? Look at what others are posting about. I've given you all of these different people to follow, and there's so many more people to follow too, but see what they're posting about. What's in the AAP news? What are some studies that have come out recently? What can you kind of break down for patients in a way that's easier for them to understand? What about the news headlines? This has been a big one. And a lot of this is in that combating misinformation, because there'll be news headlines that are not accurate. And so how can you kind of take that, those news headlines and tweak them for your social media profile? What are you seeing in the office? When we're seeing a lot of strep, when we're seeing a lot of Coxsackie, when we're seeing croup, things like that, that's a great time to start to post a little bit about, this is what croup is, and these are some at-home remedies. Of course, you always want to kind of have that disclaimer of this is not medical advice, and be sure that you talk to your physician if you have other medical advice. But sharing information to families when you're seeing something commonly around is super helpful. Also, what are the national observances, the days, the weeks, the months? You can find that at this website here, health.gov. And like I said, like January Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, it's a great month to post about the HPV vaccine, things like that. So September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, posting about that. So those are great ways to figure out content to post. You can also look at goofier stuff. So this nationaltoday.com has kind of like the fun National Day calendar. So happy Banana Bread Day to everybody. I bet nobody knew today was National Banana Bread Day, but it is. But kind of silly fun things like National Taco Day, whatever, you can post about things like that too if you're looking for content. Hashtag campaigns, so those are big on Twitter and Instagram. And what people will start posting content and use a specific hashtag for it. So just one example, we did a hashtag Life After Middle School campaign on Instagram a while back, that basically we all posted a photo of ourselves now and a photo of ourselves in junior high to kind of encourage that tween age group of kids that life does get better and your braces come off and all that kind of stuff. And so if you find a hashtag campaign, you see that out there, you connect with others, that's a great way to kind of get involved in those conversations and get your content seen. And finally, asking your followers, they'll tell you what they want to hear about. If you ask them on your social media, or you ask them in the office, or ask them through, if you have I can't even think, an email or something like that, you can send it out to your families and ask them what they want to hear about. So now I want to break down, like, very basically how to create a post. I mean, I think if a lot of you are on Facebook, you know how to make a post, but this is more like kind of how to break down a sciencey post, I guess. So this was a post that I did about the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. So first of all, thinking about your target audience and what is your message that you want to portray in that post. And your first line really matters, because when people are viewing this, you know, they're not seeing your whole post. They're seeing that first line, and that's going to determine if they're going to click and read the rest of your post. It's important to kind of keep it simple when you're breaking things down. Bullet points can be helpful. Remembering your character limits, especially when it comes to places like Instagram and Twitter. I like to separate thoughts with spaces, because it just tends to be more visually appealing when you're reading it. I don't think, like, reading a long paragraph, people just tend to skip through that and don't get all the content there. Be sure to check your spelling and your grammar. And adding a photo or a video or a link, if you're in a platform that you can add a link, can help get your post seen better. And then at the end, having a call to action or a question to get people to engage will get your post seen more. So the more engagement, the more likes, the more comments that your post gets, the more it will get seen. So if you ask a question at the end that they feel compelled to respond, or if you say, hit the like button if you agree, or whatever, that will get your content seen more. So breaking this down again. So this is the post I did. This is the main photo that was on, like, Instagram, and then one of the main photos on Facebook. Just kind of, this is what the post is about. It's about the COVID-19 vaccine. That first line, well, friends, I did it. I made it through all 53 pages and burned up my highlighter. You know, it's just kind of engaging, gets people like, oh, wow, what's this about? And then clicking on to see what the information is. You can see that everything is kind of like short, simple, broken up into different, put the spaces in there to talk about the different aspects about the vaccine we were talking about. The infographics mimicked the text so that people could actually get most of the information on the infographic and didn't actually have to look at the text. But if they wanted to look at the text, there was more in the text actually than what was in the infographics. And don't worry, I will talk to you guys about where I created these infographics in a minute. So again, keeping with that post, you know, more breaking that down into spaces, you can share graphs, and on the graphs, you know, kind of putting text on the graphs to help explain it. And then at the bottom, so a couple call to actions, and I actually had to edit this post, so you'll see the edited, but one thing friend of mine and I were doing a live discussion about the COVID vaccine. So I said, hey, you know, check out our video. And then I said, see the comments for a few of my unanswered questions. So I actually went in the comments and put some of my unanswered questions, and then said, what questions do you have? What questions do you have about the COVID vaccine? And then I did edit it to add the link to the actual document, because people were asking me about that. And then I made a mistake on one of the slides, so I added that to say, hey, whoops, I made a mistake. So that post was seen by almost 2 million people. Now, was it read by 2 million people? Not necessarily. That just means how many people saw that post. And why do I think that post went so viral? Partly because it was relevant to the time. This was posted on the day that the FDA was meeting to discuss the EUA for this vaccine. People were hungry for that knowledge. I think that the graphics helped. They were bright. They had information that people could share and easily see those graphics. And you can see at the bottom, it was shared over 15,000 times. So that obviously is what got a lot of that virality to it. And there were people that didn't like it. You can see the 20 angry emojis. There were some anti-vaccine comments on this one too, but that is not surprising when a post goes that kind of viral. But not that every post is viral, it's not, but that kind of gives you some breakdown of how I create a post. I like to say there's no need to reinvent the wheel, meaning you look at what others are doing. You can look at your own content and kind of use that too. You don't have to totally go with something new every time. So following others, seeing what they're doing, sharing their content, but do not plagiarize their content. I've actually had my content plagiarized before. And so be sure on Facebook, you can share something directly. I have some pictures here to show you how to do that. So this is a Facebook post. At the bottom right, you can see where it says share, and you just click that. You can put share to a page. So if you have a page, and then you can pick whatever page you want to share it to, and that's how you share their content. And you can write your own content at the top, but then you're just sharing their information. There is an app on Instagram that you can use. It's called Repost, where you can share somebody else's content and it puts their username on it. But it's always important, if you are sharing from somebody else, that you tag them and you note that you are sharing from them at a prominent location, usually at the top, because it just looks shady if you like put this whole post out and at the very bottom it's like, you just tag them and you don't say that you share it. That's not cool. On Twitter, you can retweet, you can quote other people's tweets to kind of get their content on your page as well. And then stories, which stories are Facebook, Instagram, and now Twitter kind of has something similar to that. But you can share their post in your stories, and that's a way, it only lives there for 24 hours. So it won't actually be on your grid or on your page, but it's a way to share their information with your followers. So the competition trap. So I think on social media, it's hard when you see other people doing similar things to you, but they're getting more followers or they're having a bigger following, or they get more likes on their post than you did. And I think this is hard, but it's important to just know that what you're doing is important and you are reaching the people that you're supposed to be reaching, and don't give up or quit just because you feel like somebody else is doing differently or better. And the other thing I think is important, I've heard other people say this, but don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle. So, someone who's new getting on social media, who's looking at what I'm doing, that's a very different comparison, because I've been doing this for years, and it's taken years to build up this following and years to understand how to do this and time to research all of this. So jump in where you're at, but try not to get too bogged down by what other people are doing, in terms of comparing that to yourself. In the beginning, you want to monitor your insights. You want to figure out what's working, what's not working, and experiment a lot. And connecting with others on these platforms, asking them questions. Like, sometimes really big accounts aren't going to look in their DMs, but smaller accounts, or finding other pediatricians. I have several groups on Instagram of women physicians or pediatricians that were on together, that were talking about like what's going on or what hashtag campaigns are going on, stuff like that. So it's good to kind of get yourself in that conversation so you can kind of know what's going on. If you don't know something, Google it. Everything is out there on Google or on YouTube. You can find a video on how to do something. You can find out how to do it on Google. So definitely take some time to learn your platform, learn about that. Talking about hashtags. So what is a hashtag? I'm sure most of you probably hopefully know. Hashtag is that number sign, and it's a way that you can group your content based on your subject, based on a theme, based on an event. You do not use punctuation or spaces in a hashtag. So if you're typing the word don't, it's DONT, no apostrophe. And this is a way that can help boost your engagement because people are searching hashtags. Now, there is this really cool website. It's from simpler.com. It's called the Healthcare Hashtag Project. And if you look at this, it gives you, this is a video of all these different hashtags that are on Twitter, and what are people chatting about, what's trending, what are some new things. So if you're looking at something that you want to join a conversation on Twitter, this is a great way to find that. This is just an example of one hashtag. So hashtag vaccines save lives, which is one that I use quite a bit. If you're thinking you want to use that, but you might use a couple other hashtags, you can find related hashtags on here. You can look at who is tweeting this, what are some of the top influencers, what is the activity of this. So this is a really, if you want to dig into hashtags, which you could go down a major rabbit hole, but if you wanted to, this healthcare hashtag project is really cool to help you kind of get your hashtag game going. Oh, hold on. So more about hashtags. You can create a branded hashtag. So if you have your business or if you have yourself as a professional. So I have a branded hashtag, hashtag Dr. Baldwin says, and I don't use it on all of my content, but if I'm doing an educational something, I'll put it on there. And so if somebody's searching hashtag Dr. Baldwin says, this is what comes up. These are my posts that I've used on Instagram with this hashtag. Again, we've talked about hashtag campaigns that can help increase your audience and engage with others, looking at what hashtags others are using on their posts, and looking at specific platforms. So Twitter's best practice, they say, is no more than 2 hashtags. I will definitely sometimes use more than 2 hashtags. Instagram, about 5 to 10 hashtags. I believe you can use up to 20, I want to say, maybe more than that. But you can also, what's cool about Instagram is that you can follow a hashtag, so that when you scroll through your news feed on Instagram, you can see posts just from that hashtag. Even if you don't follow the person, if they're using that hashtag, you can see those posts. Facebook, best practice, they say 1 to 2. Facebook, at least in the past, hasn't been very hashtag driven. I don't know if it's moving a little more that way or not, but they don't tend to be as important. TikTok, there wasn't really much information out there about what is best practices for hashtags, but I do think some of the hashtags do help your post be seen more. So what are some useful tools that I use when I'm on social media and editing and stuff like that? So Linktree is, it's a website. If you go to linktr.ee, and this allows you to post multiple links in your bio. So Instagram, this is great for Instagram and also good for, can be good on Twitter and even TikTok in your bio, because with Instagram, you can't put a link in a comment and click to get, it's not clickable. Whereas like Facebook, you can put a link in the comment. So this is a way that if you want to share, whether it's your own content, so you can see on here, I've got some of my own blog content, as well as content from other websites, from healthychildren.org, from tolerance.org. And so all of those are my link tree, so that if somebody goes to my bio on Instagram and clicks on my link tree, that's what they see. And then they can click on that link to go to whatever that site is. So that's just a useful way to share different content, and it's free. There is a paid version, but the version I use is totally free. What about photo editing? Because again, we talked about photos are big, or visual content creation. I think it's important that you have a ring light. I have several. This is just a picture of 2 of my ring lights. If you don't have a ring light to take photos, using natural light to do that makes everything look better and be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. You can batch your photos. So this seems really goofy, but this is what I do. I will, on my day off, put on hair and makeup and change my outfit a couple times, take a bunch of photos, make different faces, because I don't know when I'm going to use that photo, but I have it for later, so that if I'm sitting in my bathrobe drinking my coffee, I can create a post for Instagram or Facebook, and surprise, it looks like I have makeup and hair done, even though I don't necessarily have that. So that's a good time saver if you're doing social media, especially kind of as a professional yourself. But you can certainly, if you do it as a practice, you can batch photos too that way. Some different editing things. So Lightroom and Instagram all have editing capabilities. So this is just a photo that I wanted to show you that I edited in Lightroom. So this is my daughter, and the photo on the left was the initial picture that was taken. And then in Lightroom, I just brightened it up a little bit. Change some of the coloring, that stuff. So it just makes it look a little better. So if you take a photo and you don't have the best lighting, Lightroom is free. And it's an app you can use on your phone, and you can just go in and edit that. And you can also have specific settings if you have. So one thing I'll say about Instagram is some people who are social media marketers really like to have the grid be a certain aesthetic. So maybe like the same coloring, or all the tone is cool of all the photos, or whatever, cool or warm or whatever. You can create a specific, like, this is my filter that I like to use. And then when you put a photo in there, you just put that filter on it and go. And so that can be helpful. So Canva, I remember I told you guys I'd tell you how I created those infographics for that post. Canva has both free and paid resource. It is a great resource. There's an app for your phone, as well as you can do it online. You can create infographics. There's a lot of free stuff. I still use the free version. The paid version has a lot more fun stuff, but there's different backgrounds. You can create different text. You can do specific, whether it's for an Instagram post, an Instagram story, a Facebook post, a YouTube thumbnail, like you can create all kinds of content. So Canva is amazing. This was just something I created at Halloween. And also stories. So this is a story that I created. So it's even got, animations that you can use. Again, that was free. This is just a story promoting this live video that my friend and I do every couple weeks. So that's one thing that I created on Canva as well. There's another app you can get. It's called WordSwag, and WordSwag, you can add text to either one of their free photos or your own photos. And the free photos come from websites. There's one called Unsplash and one called Pixabay, and you can go Google Unsplash or Google Pixabay, and you can get copyright free photos to use on your social media. So the photo on the left was one of their photos. You can edit those photos. Like I made this one lighter and then added the text onto it. The photo on the right is actually my own photo that I took of a thermometer when my daughter had a fever, and just edited it. Don't fear the fever. You can see too on my infographics and photos, I always put your username on it, or in the beginning, the fever one is an older one. I used to put my website on it, but that keeps people from hopefully stealing your photos. I will say that when I've been plagiarized before, somebody took one of my photos and then cropped my name out of it, which was lovely. But anyway, that helps so that people know that that is your content. So put your name or your watermark on your photos. WordSwag costs like maybe $4.99, I think, to buy the app. It is highly worth it. Highly worth it. I do use it quite a bit. Some video tips. So 75% of video viewing is mobile. So when you think about how smartphone users hold their phone, they're holding it vertically. So for the most part, basically, unless you're shooting for YouTube, you're going to shoot vertically versus shooting horizontally. And this was a statistic I actually found out when I was creating this webinar content. 85% of Facebook users are watching with the sound off. So I just want to show you this video is created. This has closed captions. The sound is not on, so you're not missing the sound. But I just wanted to show you how you can use closed captions on your video. There's a couple different apps. So this app that I used here was Mixed Captions. You can see that there's a watermark. I could have paid like $1 or $2 to have the watermark removed, but it didn't really bother me all that much. And when it automatically generates, you upload the video, it automatically generates the closed captioning. I go back in and edit it to make sure that the periods and the punctuation is right and things are spelled correctly. You don't have to do that. I see some people that don't do that, but I just like to do that. Clip-O-Matic, you actually create the video in Clip-O-Matic. So you open the app and create the video, and it will do the closed captioning as you're talking. So again, great, just, you know, how to do that with video. With YouTube, like we said, horizontal, IGTV, and Facebook, vertical videos. Live videos, you can do live videos on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. TikTok doesn't save your live video. So if you go live on TikTok, you're talking to your audience. It's a great way to engage, but then it goes away once you're off of it, versus Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, it can save that content for later for other people to view. With videos, lighting and sound quality matters. So try to minimize ambient noise, get some good lighting when you're creating that video. And to edit videos, and I will say I don't edit a ton of videos, but you can certainly use your smartphone. These is a picture of the different smartphone apps that I have on my phone. iMovie is great if you have an Apple product to edit videos. Capwing is a great website you can go to, and they also have an app, but I would say the website is easier to edit video on. But you can add sounds, you can change the aspect ratio, and I'll show you about that in the next slide. So you can make it a different size for a different platform. So if you want to edit it for, you want this aspect ratio for Facebook, but you want this one for Instagram or something like that, you can do that and save it separately. Adobe Premiere Rush was free. I have not used that yet, but that is another option. And then InShot is one that you can add text and easily like add text, kind of like you're doing a TikTok video, only not on TikTok. So you can add those on that, but that one does also leave a watermark if you're using the free version. So this is just a slide to show you what are the different aspect ratios of videos based on different platforms. So YouTube is that 16:9 landscape or horizontal. The square, just for a square post on Instagram and Facebook's 1:1. If you're doing a vertical video on Facebook, 2:3. If you're doing a full vertical, it's that 9:16. And I know it maybe doesn't make sense, but when you look at some of these photo editing websites or the photo editing apps, you can choose those ratios based on where you want to load your content. So talking about batching or scheduling content as a way to save yourself some time, because I think a lot of people's fear of getting on social media is it's going to take you so much time. So there are several different ways that you can schedule your content. So Hootsuite, Buffer, and Later are just 3 different sites that you can go to, and they have free capabilities as well as paid capabilities, depending on how many sites you have and how much content you want to schedule. I have tried all of them. I'm not a big scheduler. I kind of post in the moment when I'm thinking about it, although I'm trying to get better at that to save myself some time. But this is a great way to schedule your content. I talked a little bit about the Facebook and Instagram Creator Studio, which I like a lot because in the past, especially on Instagram, it's been hard to schedule content. There's not been great sites to do that, but this is a way that you can do both platforms. And if you look, so this is my like if I had created a post down at the bottom right where it says share now, if you click that little upside down triangle and it goes to schedule, and then you can schedule that post to whenever you want it to be shared. So that is a nice way to do that. We talked about batching photos as a way to save time. You can batch video. So that way you have that when you're ready to do a post. I use Google Drive or my iPhone notes when I'm writing a post, because I oftentimes, if I'm going to do a longer post like that vaccine post, I didn't write that all out in one day. And I also, it's a lot easier to type it out on a computer and be able to edit it versus looking at your Facebook, your small little area on Facebook where you're creating that text. So it just is easier to edit. So what I'll do is I'll save it in Google Drive, and then I'll copy and paste it onto that post. And that also helps me to have that information for later. So if I want to post about it again, I can just go to my Google Drive rather than scrolling back through all of my posts and being like, when did I post that? And then trying to copy and paste the text from there. I've got it in my Google Drive. I've got it in my notes on my phone. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows. This is the dark underbelly of social media, especially if you post about vaccines, that it's important that you be prepared for potential negative backlash. So about a year ago, when I posted this video on TikTok about vaccines, I got bombarded with the anti-vaccine community, and it was not fun at the time, but it's obviously brought me here and brought me to be able to talk to so many people about social media, about vaccines. So I don't want that to scare you away. One thing I will say is that if you find yourself under attack, number one, turn off your Facebook reviews if you have a Facebook page. Number two, monitor your online reviews. Be sure your Google reviews, your all the WebMD, health grades, all that kind of stuff, and you can report those. But if you do find yourself under attack, please reach out. There are people to help with this. So shotsheard.org is a website. They have a Facebook page. They are dedicated to helping people who find themselves under attack from the anti-vaccine community. The other group is called Cicada. It's a Facebook page. It stands for Community Immunity Champions and Defenders Association, which is why we call it Cicada. And that is a great Facebook page. A lot of pro-vaccine people on there to help fight back against the anti-vaxxers. And there's a lot of good just information content about vaccines on that to help you answer if you have questions about, if somebody puts a question out on your post and you want to know how to answer it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I've done talks about this before, but I'm not going to bring that into this today. So just to kind of recap a little bit, we've talked about a lot. Thank you for sticking with me. So our patients and our families are on social media. So I think we need to be there too. Remember, when you're starting off, that who, what, when, where, why, and how, to kind of get you started on the right place and off on the right foot. Choosing just 1 to 2 platforms to start and kind of getting good at that before you leap into a bunch. Follow others on the platform that you choose so that you can get content ideas and ideas for how to best share that content. Use hashtags to your advantage. Utilize some tools for batching and scheduling content so that you don't get burnt out. And also, I didn't really say this, but don't feel like you have to share every single day or multiple times a day. Even if a social media marketer is saying, oh yeah, the best thing to do is share 3 times a day. That's fine if that's what they're saying. But again, this is your thing, and people are going to see what you share when you share it. And maybe they're not always going to see it, but don't kind of make yourself feel like this is a burden. This should not be a burden. This should be something that you are wanting to do in order to help educate other people, help fight misinformation, stuff like that. When in doubt, Google it or YouTube it. There's so much great information on how to do stuff out there. So don't just think you can't do it. You absolutely can. So some resources that I think are great for people getting started. So this book, Social Media for Medical Professionals, is awesome. If you want to really deep dive into how to get into social media and more stuff about different platforms. So this is written by Dave Stukas, Mike Patrick, and Catherine Nuss. I shared Dave's Twitter earlier. They are all from Nationwide Children's. So go Ohio. So great book for that. The AAP, National AAP, has a social media toolkit. So if you go to aap.org and just search social media, They have a toolkit. This is an older article, but it's a really good, easy, quick breakdown of best practices for healthcare professionals on social media. Hootsuite again has a blog. You can see I kind of look at Hootsuite a lot, but how to use social media in healthcare, and it's just got kind of a good guide for that. Doctors on social media, or SoMe Docs, SoMe being social media, is a community started by an internist who is no longer practicing. She does this as her living now, but they have a Facebook page, and they're also on Twitter. They have a website too, but that's a great way to connect with other doctors on social media and kind of get questions answered about, like, oh, I'm trying to do this on Instagram. Does anybody know how to do it, or whatever? So if you're not comfortable just Googling it, or you want to connect with other people, check out their Facebook page, check out their Twitter as well. This is where you can find me. So if you're interested in following what I do, awesome. I hope you will follow me on the different platforms. And if anybody has questions, I'm good to answer questions. And I think I'm going to let Alex can take over sharing.
Yes, I will take over sharing, and there are a few questions for you. So I'm going to share my screen first. Okay, so let's see. So some of the questions were that the first one, when you said if you are not verified on YouTube, you can only have 15-minute videos, did that mean 15 minutes total or 15 minutes each time?
15 minutes per video. So the video itself can only be 15 minutes long, but the verification process is not like, I mean, we all think of being verified on some of the other platforms, like where you get that blue check mark. That it's not the same thing. So it's easier to get verified, I think, on YouTube, but it's 15 minutes per video.
What is the recommendation on how often one should post on their platform to increase engagement? Does this depend on the platform? And how do you increase number of likes or follows of your page?
Yeah, so great question. So I think every platform is different, for sure. And I don't know off the top of my head, like this platform, that platform. I do know, like for TikTok, you're supposed to post like multiple videos a day and things like that. But and that is very easy to Google and find that information. But I would say that, like I said, I think it's important to go with your own schedule too, because I do find that I might get more engagement if I post every single day or post a couple times a day on a lot of my platforms. But that isn't great for my mental health always. And that's number one. How to get more likes and follows on your page. So certainly using those hashtags is one thing you can try. Also engaging with other people. So the way a lot of times on these platforms that you get seen is because other people share your content. And the way that other people, like if you like bigger accounts, they can see when you share their content. So if you share their content because you think it's great and you say something really nice about their content, they are likely to look at your content. Maybe they'll follow you. If they share your content, that gets you seen. So a lot of it is about engaging on these platforms with other people who are creating content. That can really help get people to see you.
And then one more question that we have right now is, can you review when and if one should pay to boost a post on the platform, specifically on Facebook?
So I have never boosted a post. And so I think that would depend. I think if you're using Facebook as advertising for your practice potentially, and your practice is smaller, and you're wanting to get more engagement, I think that could be a reason to do it. But again, I think you will grow at, how do I say that? I think you'll grow at the rate you need to grow. You know, here's what's crazy. My Facebook account a year ago, or a little less than a year ago or more, had 850 followers. And now I have almost 12,000 followers in a year. And you know why that was? Because I was attacked by the anti-vaccine community, and because people have shared my posts. So, but I still didn't boost any posts at 850, and that was respectable to me. I loved it. So I don't think that you have to do that. That's just not, not something I typically do.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Baldwin right now before I do a little wrap up? Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Baldwin, for speaking today. It was great information that you shared with us. This webinar will be recorded, and the slides will be available for you all to review. But just back to some of the PMP resources. We have age-specific and topic-specific handouts, and these are also available on the mobile app for you all to download. Here are some examples. And then to receive your certificate and your credit, you can fill out this survey to get that. And I will also send this out in an email so that you have it and you can take that survey. Again, thank you so much to ODH for their support with our Parenting at Mealtime and Playtime program. And you can sign up for other trainings in our toolkit and journal club as well if you're interested in learning more about PMP. Please feel free to reach out to me, Alex Miller, at amiller@ohioaap.org with any questions or comments. And we look forward to talking with you all soon. Thank you again, Dr. Baldwin, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for all the nice comments in the chat box. Thank you so much, Dr. Baldwin. I will follow up with you via email.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted me to hang on or not. You good?
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, I will send you the recording and any survey results that we get too.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.